And this is our second class with our pastor, Tobias Jairo. I want to allow him to introduce himself once again, because we had a class last week where he introduced himself and gave us a background, but I think it's important he does it again before he takes off with his topic of today. So karibu sana, Pastor Jairo. It's a pleasure having you. Kindly introduce yourself to the class and then we can start off. Karibu sana.
Yeah, thank you very much, my friend Dennis, for this opportunity. Well, my name is Reverend Tobias Jairo. A bit of my background is that I am a theologian. I have studied theology up to master's level. I did my master's in African Christianity, but also for about now 11 years, I have been graced to have worked in financial institutions, that is banking. And one of the burdens that I've had is being that the struggles around me, especially on financial matters, and specifically around the church, has been of a great concern for me over the years. And I wanted to find out why is it that people have a lot of financial struggles. And this need became real when I was pastoring a church in Tena Estate. And I did a research and I found out that between 95 to 97% of prayer requests that comes to you as a pastor is about financial challenges. And I found myself helpless because, yes, I would pray with them, but at the same time, you realize that there is really need beyond prayer that need financial response. And the church was struggling, the people were struggling, and I found myself as a pastor very frustrated to the extent that I was really asking myself, where is the problem? So I started doing my research to really find out why is it that there is a lot of financial struggles. When I read the Bible, I found out that Abraham, who is the father of faith, the Bible talks of Abraham having been picked by God from a pagan world. And when God called him to walk with him, God gave him 7 promises that are going to take place in his life. And in Genesis 13:2, the Bible says, Abraham became very rich in silver, in gold, and in cattle. Now, when I read that portion of the scripture, I was really challenged. And I said, wait a minute. This is a faithful man to God. This is a holy man. But the Bible also talks about him becoming very, and when the Bible talks about very, then it means it is true riches, you know? So I found out that, yes, it is true. Somebody can be holy and rich at the same time. Because one of the concerns also that I've had before is that you cannot be rich and be holy at the same time. So people of the church tend to bungle the rich people as wicked people. People are not going to heaven. And the people also who are rich there also say that church is not something that, Christianity is a thing of poverty and things like that. But in this case, I found there's a balance. There's a balance to the extent that you can be holy and you can at the same time be rich. So when now God put me into the financial sector, I believe the reason why God put me there was really to understand the financial world so that I'll be able to help, the church. So right now I feel the Lord has called me into the body of Christ to be able to talk about 5 pillars of true success, of measuring true success. And this came to me when I read the Bible very discreetly from 2015. And I heard some man of God saying that if you want to change something in your life, you have to be intentional. So one of the areas I really wanted to be intentional about was to really find the answer. What is the true measure of success from God's perspective? So I started reading the Bible from Genesis, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, through to Revelation. So having gone through the Bible the first time, the second time, the third time, these 5 things became apparent to me that they are the pillars of measuring true success. And pillar number 1 is the discovery of purpose. That if you really want to experience, if you want to experience true success, you need to discover your purpose. That's number 1. Then the second pillar is wholeness. Wholeness as a person in your mind, in your spirit, and in your body. Then the third pillar is wealth creation. And then, of course, the fourth pillar is about relationship, especially to the people who matter to you most. This is your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, and then now moving to the outer community. Very important. And then lastly is legacy, the impact you want to create in the world and live in the world even after you're gone. So that is the background. That is the background. And I'm really excited for this conversation because in many areas, many places, the Lord has given me a chance to have a talk. I find a lot of attention and a lot of interest in the areas of wealth creation. So we talked about understanding our place in financial prosperity. I believe this has to be taken in the context of balance based on those 5 pillars. But there are three important realities about money. For example, number 1, I said that money is a part of everyone's life. I don't know whether in your life there is an area where money does not play a role, whether it is the light they're using right now, there is money involved, whether it is the internet, money is involved, whether it is transportation, money is involved, whether it's communication, money is involved, school fees, food you're eating, So I realized that money is a part of everyone's life. And it is something that cannot be ignored, So that's fact number 1. Fact number 2 is that becoming successful financially, whether it is in business or career, is not about, becoming someone else, but learning how to be yourself, because there is a particular area, it's a particular area of strength, area of interest that will work for you. Then the third important fact is that I've seen and I've experienced that many Kenyans are financially illiterate. If you ask them how they learned about financial matters, they'll tell you, from my friend, there was a friend of mine who suggested a business, and then we started. But you realize that majority of Kenyans are financially illiterate. This is the reason why we are having this conversation, to be able to help many people, have a financial sound mind. So the question that maybe Ms. or do you have something you want to ask before we go on?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pastor Jairo. You've touched on a number of issues. You've done actually a recap of what we studied last week. And just at the onset, I wanted you to also just mention that you are teaching other sections of the community, the society, other groups that have engaged you where you are teaching this, and the response that people are having towards the wealth creation. Would you mention something on that line?
Yeah, I have engaged a number of institutions, churches, for example, where a group of pastors have gathered together and have been just, sharing my life as a pastor and the gaps that I've seen and the challenges that I've seen, the struggles that I've seen. As for example, in the pastoral sector, many churches are not properly organized in a way that a pastor would be able to have something like retirement fund, for example. Even medical covers. So you realize that somebody will serve in the house of the Lord for the rest of his life. When he becomes old, that his strength cannot even sustain him, then he does not even have finances to take care of him in his old age. And this is really pathetic, because this person has been serving in the house of the Lord. So that has been a major concern, and the majority of pastors are in that space. And one of the things that I do, especially when we meet with this, engage with the leadership of the church, is really to find a way in which pastors can have some savings towards their retirement plans. They can also have some basic medical cover, and in case of any challenge, the child is sick, they can either go to hospital, and just some basic things that are really happening in the corporate world, because the world is real. We live in a real world where challenges will come, and if people are not organized in that area, then they will realize that time has gone and you have nothing, to hold on. In terms of other organizations, I remember 3 years ago or 4, I think, Anglican Church flew me to Kilimanjaro, Mount Kilimanjaro, and I had all the accountants there, and I was talking to them about wealth creation, sharing my experiences that I learned, especially from the Jewish system of wealth creation, which I really love most, because their spirituality and their practice in the marketplace is intact, is one, which to me is very, very important, because if you don't practice your spirituality in how you do business, then there's always a dichotomy. So realize that you're spiritual when you're in church, when you're doing business, you're something else. And this is really a common thing, especially in the space of how some Christians practice their faith. But the Jewish people believe that your spirituality must be practiced in how you deal with people in business, in the marketplace, so that when we are selling something, when you're selling, for example, rice, and you say this is 2 kg of rice, it is exactly 2 kgs, not something less. But you realize majority of Kenyans would tamper with the weight, for example, so that you thought that you bought nyama 1 kg, but it's not 1 kg. I mean, these have Christian names, So
is it now the problem of? Do you think the Bible has been taught wrongly? Why has this happened?
Yeah, I think the one of my findings is that the way the gospel was introduced to us in Africa did not have that holistic approach to life. Most of us were just being prepared to go to heaven, but not to live here effectively. And as a result of that, you realize that people have lived their Christianity not as a balanced way, not in a balanced way.
But Pastor, is this an African problem? Was it preached wrongly in Africa, or it's across the board?
Yeah, I think, I want to use the context of Africa, because Africa, number one, we are struggling with economic challenges as well. So we are considering ourselves as a growing nation, as a third world. So there are so many struggles that we are still, trying to cope up with. So when you mix it with economic challenges, then the situation is very heavy. But the way the gospel was introduced to us was that it was almost seen as a sin if you're a pastor and you're also doing your own business. For example, you see, so that you only have to depend on the offerings that you're being given. But you have your own needs also. And the church might not be in a position to really pay you enough money to take care of other needs that you have.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it comes to, for example, taking your children to school,
Mhm.
you will really struggle to take your children to the best schools because the kind of salary that you receive might not allow you to do that. But
Yeah,
what about if you are doing your business,
yeah.
which also gives you additional income? Then you will be able to,
Mhm.
live a better life and do other
Yeah.
things that other people are doing, for example. So that kind of mindset has really made it difficult for
Mhm.
many pastors to really live a very comfortable life. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Pastor Jairo. Now, I want you to, the few times, I would say a few times because I need to be with you many times because there's an impact that you put in my life. I want you to tell us, because you are going to have a number of sessions to teach the people of God. And I've confirmed, I am a witness that the Lord has called you and has revealed to you in this line that you may teach the believers to really take their place in the marketplace and to make wealth without feeling guilty that they are doing something
Yes.
else. And so I just want you to give us a brief of how do you intend to teach us for the number of lessons that you will have, and what is the expected end? What do you expect of me if I'm well trained? Am I going to the marketplace, or what do you expect at the end of it to your students, those who are listening to you right now?
Yeah, my expectation is that you'll be able to understand financial matters in a holistic way. I believe that most of us will be able to be comfortable with money without feeling guilty.
Yeah.
And also some of the things, practical ways in which you can build your wealth, which is very, very important. For example, the culture of saving is lacking in African context.
Yeah.
In the Jewish context, it is introduced from age 8, for example. A father would introduce his son at age 8 on how to divide his money anytime he receives any money. We'll teach his son to give 10% tithe, 10% offering or philanthropy, 10% saving, 20% investing, and then the last 50% spending. So you can imagine if this child starts from age 8, by the time he's 19, and that is what he's been doing, he will be able to buy his own house cash because he's been doing for over many years. It's a culture, it's something, it's a habit that now has ingrained in him until he dies. That's how they live. So the culture of saving is very important. Then one of the issues also that I'm going to be handling is about debt, because debt is a major challenge to many of us. There's a lot of financial distress as far as debt is concerned. And many Christians are struggling with debt. So in my conversation with the people, one of the things that we discuss is to mention or be able to bring out all the debts that you owe people and list them from smallest to the largest. And I believe that when you owe people money, you need to have a plan to pay them. One of the challenges we have seen in the Christian fraternity that many Christians believe somehow they can borrow, but God will cancel debt, miraculously. That is really a major thing, I'm telling you. So I believe that
paid at Calvary.
everything, Jesus handled. So even your debt will just be canceled, And it does not give us a very good, front or business partners, for example. But you know that research indicates that anytime you owe people money, you're suffering a form of depression in one way or the other.
Oh, really?
So yes. So it is very, very important that we give you opportunity to be able to have a structure on how you can pay off that debt. And the moment you finish paying your debt, I want to tell you even sleep better. Then we are going to also tell people how they can start saving and building, and then eventually investing, options that they can use to invest, and eventually be able to, achieve financial freedom so that they can also be a blessing to the world.
Wonderful. So at the end of it, you want to see believers who are financially liberated. Yeah.
Yes.
They have that financial freedom. Yes. And,
yeah, that's true.
And we are going to discuss, this is a conversation that is based on the Bible. These are Bible principles that you are teaching the believers, that we may be able to come out of the gospel that has been one-sided, but it's going to be holistic. Yes. Thank you so much, Pastor Jairo. Unless there's any other point that you want to clarify, I think we have now laid a proper foundation. And so from our next class, you're going to pick one issue and discuss it thoroughly. We've isolated the issue of saving, the issue of debt, investment, and then finally financial freedom. Every item, depending on the response from our viewership, we are going to broaden even as people ask questions. And I want to ask those who are listening to us, if you're meeting us for the first time, this is our pastor, Reverend Tobias Jairo, who is our guest today and will be our guest for the next couple of weeks, teaching us on wealth creation the Bible way. Thank you so much, Pastor Jairo. Maybe you can give us a closing part, and then we'll go through.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to seeing my fellow Africans rise up and start up businesses that will outlive them, and they'll be able to get these biblical principles that will be able to guide them in the marketplace, and not to be afraid to start a business and own an empire that you can also, employ others. I think that it's a biblical principle to be able to create jobs rather than looking for jobs. So we are looking forward to really having my fellow Africans, my fellow Kenyans rise up and start businesses and grow, and even to other parts of the world. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Jairo. Have a wonderful evening.